Welcome to Trench Talk. We about to dive into all the gang-related news, stories, and history. So you know the drill, like comment, share, and smash that bell so you don't miss when we drop something fresh. It all starts with the notion of sneak dissing, an all too common back and forth on social media. We're talking about Lil Durk and the alleged quiet tension simmering between his camp and Quando Rondo's team. Word on the street has it that there's been no shortage of low-key insults, online posturing, and flashy displays of wealth, with everyone looking to show that they're on top. Durk's crew, known as OTF, Only the Family, seems determined to make one thing clear: they're winning. And they'll do whatever it takes to show they've earned that spot. Now here's where things get interesting. Durk is seen in a video seemingly spreading the wealth among his guys, doling out cash, and giving off the appearance of a proud CEO taking care of his team. But what exactly is the purpose here? They're tossing cash around, laughing and boasting, and it's all being recorded. It looks like Durk's simply making sure his friends are enjoying some of the fruits of his success. After all, they've been loyal to him, right? But then the wheels start turning. Why is he giving out all this money? They're not rappers, producers, or visible members of his security. To a casual viewer, it may look like a celebration of loyalty. But to investigators, it's beginning to look like something else entirely. Fast forward just a month, and the scene shifts from celebration to chaos. In Los Angeles, at a seemingly ordinary gas station, shots ring out. An SUV riddled with bullets, the aftermath spilling over to the streets, and Quando Rondo, a rapper often at odds with Durk's camp, is visibly shaken. In a twist of tragic irony, a member of Rondo's entourage loses his life that night. The incident sends shockwaves through the industry, raising a critical question. Was this a spontaneous street altercation, or could there be something premeditated about it? The FBI's involvement signals a turning point in what was initially seen as a standard gang dispute or random act of violence. Their approach transforms this situation from street-level retaliation into a potentially expansive federal case. With a reputation for handling organized crime, the FBI brings sophisticated resources, legal authority, and techniques that local police departments often don't have. The investigation into Durk's alleged money handouts, and whether they were intended as payment in a murder-for-hire scheme, reveals the complexity of cases involving potential conspiracies within organized groups. Federal agents are digging beyond the surface, looking to establish whether this incident was orchestrated at a higher level with coordinated planning. In conspiracy cases like these, the FBI is tasked with proving a connection between multiple parties, establishing that each person played a role in a larger criminal plan. This involves not just proving that a crime occurred, but showing that a network, potentially under the leadership of Durk or his associates, systematically plotted it. To turn this into a federal charge, they need a series of events that all point toward an intentional, premeditated action rather than a coincidental street feud. The term murder for hire is especially heavy, as it implies that someone was paid to carry out a hit, potentially with knowledge, backing, or even direct orders from someone higher up the chain. For this charge to be taken seriously, the FBI needs airtight evidence, especially if they intend to prove that Durk's cash handouts were essentially payments for an attack on Quando Rondo's team. The FBI's strategy relies on a few key types of evidence to build an organized crime case. Let's break down the elements they're pursuing. Video evidence. Investigators have reportedly scrutinized video footage that allegedly shows Durk distributing large sums of cash to his associates. This footage could potentially establish the act of payment, but lacks context without linking the cash to the intended act. For this evidence to have weight, investigators would need to prove that the cash handouts were intended as funds for an orchestrated attack. Context, such as conversations or specific gestures or phrases exchanged during the video, could play a critical role here. Additionally, linking those present in the video to the incident involving Quando Rondo strengthens the case. Financial transactions. Tracing the flow of money is a classic FBI tactic in organized crime investigations. Authorities may look for financial transactions connected to Durk or his team. Withdrawals, credit card charges, or transfers that coincide with the timing of the incident. If any funds were traced to those who later ended up in Los Angeles around the time of the attack, this could suggest premeditated coordination. Moreover, Any purchase of weapons, travel expenses, or rentals that might have facilitated the hit would raise additional red flags. Witness testimony. Witnesses could become the linchpin of the case, as they provide a narrative that physical evidence alone can't. To solidify charges, a witness might need to testify about the alleged purpose behind Durk's cash handouts. Witnesses in these cases are often associates who later decide to cooperate for personal reasons, reduced sentencing, revenge, or safety concerns. If a witness testifies that the cash was explicitly intended for targeting Rondo's team, it brings credibility to the conspiracy angle. However, witness credibility can be tricky, as their motives are often questioned in court. The FBI will likely seek to back up witness statements with concrete evidence to minimize potential defense arguments about unreliable testimony. Communications records, communications data, such as call logs, texts, or encrypted messages, is often pivotal in linking conspirators. The FBI may analyze phone records or messages between Durk and his associates for any evidence of planning or coordination. For example, if texts or calls between Durk and his team coincided with the attack timeline, especially with language implying action or urgency, this could be highly incriminating. Even if Durk didn't explicitly order an attack, suggestive or coded messages could imply encouragement or approval, enough to tie him to the incident indirectly. For the FBI, the ultimate goal is to craft a narrative that paints Durk as a central figure orchestrating actions within his circle, potentially going as far as planning retaliation against his rivals. Building this narrative requires stacking evidence to show a pattern of intent, resources, and execution. The case might lean heavily on circumstantial evidence, where no direct order from Durk exists. However, establishing that the attack was carried out with funds, communication, and proximity to Durk could still lead to a conspiracy conviction. Despite the FBI's considerable resources, there are challenges. They must overcome defenses around loyalty culture within these circles, where money exchange is common without necessarily being tied to violence. The defense may argue that Durk's cash handouts were an act of goodwill rather than a payment for violence, framing it as routine generosity among close associates. They might also argue that any money used by those involved in the incident was coincidental, unrelated to a larger conspiracy. To counter this, the prosecution will try to establish that Durk's money had a more pointed purpose, using witness statements, records, and footage to show that the attack was organized and planned. The defense is likely to face significant hurdles. For one, there's the perception challenge with jurors who may be unfamiliar with the intricacies of street life and gang culture. Even if Durk's team argues that the money was just a gift, the prosecution may paint a different picture. And if the prosecution can bring in witnesses who will testify that there were threats or tampering, things could take a turn for the worse. Moreover, the defense must contend with the FBI's track record. When the feds step in, they usually have a tight case. They're not known for charging people unless they're confident they have a 90% chance of winning. This case has shades of the infamous O Block 5 case, where another rapper, King Von, handed out money in a similar fashion, only for his rival, FBG Duck, to end up dead soon after. Many believed the O Block 5 wouldn't face consequences, but the feds' involvement changed that. With the FBI now working on the Rondo Durk incident, some fear history is about to repeat itself. This case is only beginning to unfold, and every piece of evidence, every testimony, every detail that comes out will be scrutinized by the public and media alike. Investigators are still digging, and the story is far from over.